Still she is not replying. What is problem, Aarti Bandkar?
Yes.
How many times I asked you? What was the problem?
Sorry.
Don't keep the mobile somewhere and wondering here. Huh? You have to attend the lecture sincerely. If I find someone is keeping the mobile and misusing that online concept, I'll put absent for the whole semester. Huh? Chalo, ठीक है.
Sorry.
36 are there here. Chalo, we'll start it now. Let me share the screen. Okay, screen is visible. My screen is visible. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So actually, the mail ID was different and I am faculty is different. It is not Madhpati, sir. So I'll introduce myself and then we'll start with our subject. We'll start with the syllabus first. Shruti, Binge, Trupti, Sonar. Okay. Have you prepared the notebook, everyone, separately? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So requirement is that you have to take the long, large notebook of 200 pages. So everybody must be carry out the notebooks. It may be there online or offline, doesn't matter. You have to prepare it. Okay, because what was the notes will be there, will share it. You have to write down. We have to take it in that because this subject is basically all the based on the basic concepts of electronics. That is the controlling part. And as far as the NTC, it is important for the all the students. So what was the project you're carrying out? Interview questions also may be asking on that. Okay. So before start with the subject, we'll start with the introduction of myself. I will share with you, and then we'll start actual our syllabus. Okay. So as I mentioned that the mail ID, what was I use? It is not of that Dr. Mahesh Matpati. Actually, it is different. So I am the Professor Hussein Bhaldar, actually, and I have the experience of near about 11 years in the teaching field. So I have done the graduation, that is BE Electronics and Telecommunication from the Swery Institute. After that, after 3 years, I have completed the post graduation, that is ME in the FLS and Embedded System from the Singh Institute, Pune. And after that, before the 3 years in the 2017, I have registered for my PhD, and I'm pursuing the PhD from the BKT Bhalki, which is affiliated to the VTU Belgavi University, that is in the Karnataka. And I'm recently in the verge of the completion of the PhD. Also, in the 6 months, it may be completed. Okay. So basically, I've talked about in the last 11 years. I have taught the different subjects, starting with the CAD 1, CAD 2, then the PDC. You might not might be there last semester. I actually had deal with the PDC in the your SYB division. Okay, and you might have heard about some practicals we have conducted along with the Kulkarni madam. Okay, then I had taught the ESD subject maybe the next semester with you. Then ESD embedded system I had taught, VLSI I had taught, and then different coding techniques, CT, that is called coding theory, and random processes, that is RSTC also I had taught. Okay, And this controller, I am dealing with your subject, that is the microcontroller and the application for this semester. Okay, so this is my short introduction about myself. Have you heard my name properly? Should I repeat? नाव सांगून कळलंय का माझं? Hello. Shall I will repeat that my name? My name is HK Bhaldar, Bhaldar. Okay, so you can note somewhere. And what was the mail ID in all this thing I'll share within. It is on the contact list also. Okay. So dealing with your subject that is called as a microcontroller and the application. We'll go with the syllabus first, and then I will discuss its object in all these parts. What will be there? Okay. So starting with our subject, that is the name is a microcontroller and the applications. Okay. This is our subject in our TY Tech Electronic Telecommunication. And if we talk about the weightage, please remember the code 80314 is our code for this subject. You can take the name and all the structure also. And the syllabus points I will share. Please keep the some pages so we can write the syllabus afterwards. Keep one page back to back. That will require for writing the syllabus. I'll put this syllabus copy on our WhatsApp group. Please take it. We should not waste much time in writing also. So we'll go with the more detailed technical knowledge, and we'll utilize this lecture for enhancing technical skill rather than going with some dictation all this part. Is it okay? Deshmukh? Mahesh?
Yes, sir.
Yes, correct. So in the notebook, write down our subject code, that is ET314, on subject name, microcontroller and the application. And if you talk about in the teaching, we have the 4 lectures per week, and it has the 4 credits that will be coming in their mark sheets. Practical, we have the 2 hours, very easy practical. So there are all the practical can perform the kit as well as on the simulation software is there, KLC. Okay, we'll perform on that. In that we have the ESC, that is online, maybe offline online exam of 70 marks, final exam. ISC 30 marks is there, and ICA, that is our term work, 25 marks. POE is a practical oral exam is there for this, that is of the 50 marks. So total weightage we talk about 175 is the weightage for this subject. Have you taken this? Hello? Take these parts, I'll give some time. Just take this, I'll share all the syllabus afterwards. And we have to carry out what? You have to share the what was the lectures by carrying out every day, or 2-3 lectures over. You have to send a screenshot of your notebook by putting the roll number on that by pencil, and you have to send the screenshot of the notebook to me on the WhatsApp group, and personally to me on the WhatsApp. It's a requirement for all the students, because I want to check that who is writing, who is not writing the things. Taken this, everyone? Arti Bandgar?
Yes.
Okay. Mahesh, done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you talk about this subject, we have total 8 chapters. So 4 chapters on the first section and the 4 chapters in the second section. And we have the 2 ICs in that we have to learn. That is called as first IC is MCS 51. That is the microcontroller 8051. All the thing in that. This is the first IC in the first section. And the section 2 will deal with the PIC microcontroller. That is called a 16F7AA. Okay, and basic introduction is given here. We talk about objective of this course to provide the introduction to the microcontroller families and the details of the MCS 51. This will be objective as per the curriculum of the university. We have different objectives also. We'll go with that also. Then to describe the course features and the peripheral features of the PIC 16F7877A, that is the PIC controller IC name is there. So what stands for F, A, all this thing will deal with when the actual subject will come that, or a particular point will come on that. Then to explain practice assembly language and embedded C programming techniques. So we have the assembly language as well as C language programs for this or to do the practicals on that. To demonstrate and perform hardware interfacing and design for various application. Simple example, when I press the button, the LED must be on, stepper motor must be on, or fan should be rotated. Like this practicals we along with the hardware. Hardware means what? What was the IC when you put on the PCB and we have to interface different sensors, push buttons, or IO devices. Huh? That comes in the hardware part. And what is software? What is the code we are writing for that? That will deal with the software for this. So normally, if you define, you might learn or heard about the definition of embedded system. So embedded system is defined as it is the combination of the hardware and the software defined for that particular application. That is called as the embedded system. Whole system will be there. We'll go the block diagram also of that. We'll understand on that. Okay, these are the objective, and then once we achieve this objective, we can say outcomes of that. What outcomes we achieved of that at the end of this course will be completed. Expose the fundamental features and the operation of contemporary controllers. So what the two controls are there? We'll learn about the some features of that IC, how that IC is there, what is size of IC, how many RAM, ROM, all these things. Too many things are there to learn this controller ICs. We'll go with that. Demonstrate and perform hardware interfacing. As we said that in assign the input push button, press the put button, then what action we have to take. If you might visited the various malls and the new shops are there, hotels are there. When we enter at the gate of that hotel or the mall, the gate of that glass automatically opens. बघितलं सर्वांनी असं? Have you visited some such situation you have experienced? असं एक्सपिरियन्स केलंय का तुम्ही? If you have visited the large or big malls and the hotels, when you enter at the gate of that mall, the door automatically opens. बघितलंय हे?
Yes, sir.
So have you thought given the thought on that, being electronic engineer, what is technology they have used? Simple technique is there, IR based. So we are using the IR sensor, and based on the IR sensor, IR sensor is interface with the controller, or we can say the ARM processor. Any controller can be used there. And when the IR sensor comes near in front of the range, we have the range of the sensor. When the person is coming at near the sensor, the temperature of that particular position increases, and the sensor sense some physical appearance will be there, movement will be there, and that signal goes to the controller. And based on the controller, the motors, stepper motors or the servo motors are going to be interfaced. Okay, and that output device, that is a motor, rotates for how much time duration? We have to define that. To open the door, we have to define the time delay. And once that motor runs up to 5 seconds, door opens. After that 5 seconds over, again we have to rotate the motor anti-clockwise, so the gate will be closed. This is simple technology, so we can go with the project also, small HMP projects on that, and we can do the project on that also. Concept kala काय होता ते? IR based door opening system. It may be used in the home automation also, to open the window automatically, to open the door automatically, to run the fan automatically. Nowadays we have these smart fridges also, So it will tell that smart ovens are there also. After putting some food in that, and we have to bake that food. If you suppose talk about samosa, after some interval, you will get the alarm or SMS on your mobile that your food is going to be cooked now properly. Okay, so such smart technologies comes that is come in under the embedded system, and that is part of our controller. कळलंय थोडा ना? I want reply. I don't want the one-way communication, because it should not be bored to you and me also. Correct na?
Yes, sir.
Okay. महेश बोलत नाहीये, बाकीचे कोण बोलत नाहीये, बोलत राहायचंय. So actually we'll go with this syllabus now. So in the section first, we have the first chapter, that is called as Unit 1, Introduction to the Microcontroller. and it is very, very basic. Only as it is going 2 hours, 4 hours here, we require only 2 hours to finish this chapter. Only 2-3 points are there in that. Introduction, what is microcontroller? If he elaborate this microcontroller, I will tell here also. Micro means what? We have to go with the division rule of that. You might learn in the 10th or 11th in Marathi. My Marathi also good. That is called as Sandhya and Vigraha. Have you heard that concept, Sandhi Vigraha?
Yes, sir.
Yes, continuous words are there where to separate out. So that is will be micro and the controller. Micro means what? Very small, tiny. Okay, so very small, tiny. That is in comes in the some by square IC size is there, and control means what? Device which will take the action based on the inputs are given. That is called as the controller, a smart device which will be control or take the action, necessary action based on the input provided, and always it runs on the how the user writes the code for that. That comes the software part. Clear? Have you got meaning of controller, microcontroller? It is just for understanding. We are going briefly as the chapters will come. I am explaining here syllabus only. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in that we have the first introduction. What is microcontroller? Definition. It's the meaning, all this thing part. Then microprocessor also previously was there in our syllabus, but it is not there now. So difference between the microprocessor and the microcontroller. What is the exact difference? If you talk all the CPUs, what is in the micro computers, what are the data systems are there? In that we have the Intel processor, that is the microprocessors, and we'll see what is the difference between that microprocessor and the controller. Then based on the instruction, how it is written, we have the classifications of the CISC and the RISC machines controllers are there. Means CISC means what? Complex instruction set computing or computers, we can say. Means where the instructions are very, very complex. Too many instructions are there. That comes under the microprocessor. And the RISC, reduced instruction set computing. That is called as the all the controllers comes under the RISC families. So we have to see the difference. So we have the two differences starting with that. First difference this and second difference this. And then we have the type of architecture. So when we design controller the processor, we have the families that is Harvard, one Newman, and then Super Harvard also it is there nowadays in that. All the DSP processor comes in the Super Harvard architectures. Okay. And the development system, how the controllers will be developed. And basically it is required 1 to 2 hours to finish this chapter first. Very, very easy. Only sometimes differences coming in the exam or definitions are coming in the exam. In offline exams will be there. Okay, and objective and questions we can ask on that, no issue on that. Clear? First chapter what is the chapter contains?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll go to the next chapter unit 2, and starting with the first section, as I said that we have first introduction of the 8051 architecture and it's a instruction set. This is the little bit large or big chapter in our first section, and maximum it is given on the this chapter. So 8051 is the family of the MCS. In that we have the first IC, that is the 8051. That is called as microcontroller 8051 architecture and instructions. In that first we have the it's a architecture 8051 microcontroller hardware is written here. So we have the architecture of that basic architecture and the main architecture. So what is architecture? Actually, it's a design, how the control will be designed and what is inside that IC. So it's a lookup diagram will be there. All the blocks are mentioned in the architecture diagram that will form the architecture of the 8051. Then second point is addressing modes. So how that IC can be instructed by using the different types of instruction. So we are defining some instruction addressing modes for that. So based on that addressing mode, it will be having its operation of the 8051. How the addressing modes of that. Based on this addressing mode, we have its instruction set that is called as instruction. Just a minute. Huh. Then we have its instruction set means what? How that I see programs can be written depends upon the different types of how devices are interface output device. When I want to put the data in the memory, or I want to put the data in the ROM memory, or certain instruction subroutine ISR can be called. So all this comes under the instruction set. So with the help of this instruction set, we have to write that's a assembly language programming. So it is looks like a small bit, but it requires the more time, maximum time on this point. Instructions set. Differences are there, arithmetic is there, logical is there, jump instructions are there, data flow instructions are there. Okay, stack pointer instructions are there. Too many instructions are coming in that particular point. Then it's IO ports. So it has the 4 IO ports, 40 pin ICs there, and it has the 4 8-bit ports are there. What is use of the port? We can understand that. So when we use the input, I want to I want to take the input from the outside of the data to the controller. That time this port pin act as the input, and we can take the data in the controller. And from that controller, I want to send the data out. So you can say transmit the data out. We have the output pin. So all the ports act as input as well as the output. So we have to configure that port particularly to act input or the output. Okay, so it has the 4 ports for this. It's a diagram is there. We'll see how to configure input and that can be output. Then we have its external memory. So internal has memory, RAM and the ROM main 2 memories are there. Still we can interface the external memory also up to the 64 kilobytes. And how to interface, we have these certain pins, that is control pins. We'll see that also in that particular chapter. Then timer counter, most important block in all the controllers, that is called as the timers and the counters. So if you talk about timers, what is the meaning of timer? We used to use these devices when we want to wake up the early in the morning. कोण सांगू शकते मला timer means what? You might learn in the ECAD 1, ECAD 2, or EDC. You might have the EDC. कोण सांगते timer? What is the meaning of timer? Have learn about 555 IC. It might be in the LIC or EDC. ECAD. Actually, this is a problem. Actually, we know the answer, but we are having the fear about I might be wrong and other persons will laugh on that. We should not afraid about what others can think. Okay.
Sir.
Yes, good, madam. Name, please.
Here, timer is application. When we set a particular time, then it show if that time is finished, it show sound or
Alarm.
another notification alarm.
Correct. Your name, ma'am?
Vaishnavi Deshmukh.
Vaishnavi Deshmukh. Good. Okay. So timer is a device, electronic device, which provide the different time delays. Simple device. Definition kale. Timer is an electronic device which provide different time delays as we program it. And after completion of that time delay, it provides the alarm sound to the controller. So internally it has the counter, it start counting. Once time delay is over, it externally it has the alarm on that and particular pin, and it goes sounding on that. That is the timer. Clear? It has the 2 timers in that, timer 0, timer 1. That is 16-bit timers will be there. And it has the counter also inside. What is counter? Exactly reverse of the timer. So counters is the device, again it is device which count the external clock pulses in the defined time interval. If you talk about when we visit the nearby any temples, if it all Vittal temple is there, and when the persons are entering in that, starting we have the that electronic system in that, and what on displays there on that LED bars are there, and when the persons are coming from that particular door, it shows the count value 1, 2, 3, 4 that. Okay, so here you're using that counter to count the external clock pulses. So IR based system is there. When person is going, it creates one high pulse and goes low. So it count the that high number of pulses. It may be rising or the falling age. That is the counter. Clear? Counter call laga sir definition small.
Yes, sir.
Device which count external clock pulses in the defined time interval. Then it has serial data input output, that is UART, and some interrupts are there. What is interrupt? Simple, our lecture is going on, and just now I was the call on the mobile and I interrupted. Okay, so I little bit I stopped that, muted the mic, and I taken the call and I talk on that, and again I come back here. Same process happens in the control also. It has the software and the hardware interrupts. Interrupt means what? A signal which takes the attention of the controller, and depends upon the priority. It is high priority, low priority. It suspend the task, current task. Means what was the program going on? It stops and keep on the some location. And what was the current coming interface there? It is executed, and once it is completed, it goes back to the what was the other store, and from that our main program going to be run. That is called as the interrupt. This is second chapter. We'll go to the next. Third chapter is the programming for the microcontroller 8051. So starting with here is the mechanic for the programming. Simple assembly language and the C programming concepts are there. If you talk about starting with the simple addition of the 2-bit numbers, addition of the 16-bit numbers, then finding the square root of the numbers, making the square of the numbers, then putting some formulas a plus b bracket square. I want to do that. Transferring the whole block means starting the number from suppose 1 to 10. I want to put the 1 to 10 numbers in the certain memory location, and then calling back again, making the addition of the first 1 to 10 numbers by keeping in the loop all this thing. Then generating the square wave around, generating triangular wave. Too many things are there. Interfacing LCD, stepper motor, buzzer, LED relays. All this comes program under this chapter of chapter number 3rd. Okay, so if you talk about conceptual programming, this chapter is going to be important. Chapter number 3rd. Then chapter number 4 is the interfacing with the again microcontroller, but it has some external devices along with that. Okay, starting with the first LCD interfacing to the 8051, the matrix keyboard interfacing, it's a programming. ADC, that is analog digital converter 0809, DAC 0808. Okay, when the input sensors will be analog, that time we need the ADC, because signal output signal of the sensor will be analog, and this controller is always going to understand the binary language, digital only, 1010 format, hex format. Okay, to make that analog signal digital, we're using the ADC, and at output again we're converting that digital signal to the analog form. Okay, that's we need these two devices also. As I said that now just stepper motor interfacing to rotate some doors, all these things, window opening, or and servo motors also may be there. This motor can be interfaced with this. And the last is a external memory interfacing. If you need the more memory, as I said that it has a RAM of 128 byte only, and 64 KB of the ROM only. But this memory is not sufficient. We are going to external interface. If you said that all the mobile phone have the slot to interface the external memory, nowadays we have up to the 256 GB, 1 TB can interface directly to the mobile phones. So we have the slot out that. So we can create these slots automatically at that point, and we can interface the external memory. Okay, so how that interface will be there, we're going to see in this chapter also. Okay, so this 4th chapter deals with the all things of 8051 only. So after this completion, 8051 will be over here. So then section start with the as I said that chapter number, section number 2. In that we have the second IC that is called as a PIC microcontroller. That is called as a programmable interrupt controller. That is a PIC. What is the full form of PIC? Programmable interrupt controller. That is a PIC IC. That is a 16F77A. It's the name of that IC. Okay. And chapter number 5 deals with this simple introduction of the PIC IC. Then it's the architecture, features, and instruction set, how it can be configured, how to use that word registers there in that. Okay, this is the chapter number 5. Then chapter number 6 will deal with its core features of that. What is inside? It's what are the devices will be there? Okay, and all the devices can be studied here. It is first, what are the pins are there for pin IC? So pin description of all the IC. Okay, then various registers inside there, all the registers from that IC. Then program memory, data memory organization, how the program memory and data memory used there, and how it can be configured. That we're going to learn in the this chapter. Then how many IO ports are there, how many pins can be used as the input output. Then interrupts, as you said that in chapter number section first also we have the 805 interrupts. All the controllers have the interrupt. Okay, because without interrupt that cannot be work. We need that. So in that also we have the interrupts. Then various kinds of reset signals are there to reset the controller. This is will be in the chapter number 6. And chapter number 7, what was that we have learned? Instruction set, all the input output devices in that, how the ports are there, and to program or interface that devices along with this PIC IC. Chapter number 7 will be there. Peripheral features and the programming. Peripheral means what? Devices or interfacing devices outside of that. Peripheral means, can it is a simple word? It's a device name. It is a peripheral. So in that we have the on-chip devices. Timers are there, counters are there, and the counter act as again capture compare mode on the PWM mode. We can capture certain time interval and we can take action on that. When we start the best example of this capture compare, I will tell here only. When we use the timers in our mobile phone, when we are using the athletics running modes, okay, we are finding the time lapse. Okay, who is reaching the first 4 seconds, next in 5 seconds. So we are getting the lapses in that, correct? Time lapse we can say. If you're not, you can just check in the timer and start timer, and we have the lapse there. Just put on the lapse, it will count and display the time. So in that we can say in certain counting position, we have to capture certain point or timing interval. So we can capture that and also we can compare the timing interval with the or predefined value. So this feature is available in the PIC. It's not in the 8051. Then PWM models is there, that is pulse width modulation. Okay, then internal, it as I said that in the 8051 we need the external ADC and the DAC. But in case of PIC we have the on-chip ADC IC, that is analog digital converter. Also it has internally watchdog timer. And how these devices can be used for various application, we'll go with that in detail when the chapter will start. And the last chapter number 8 start with the serial communication. As I said, the serial communication means what? Either it is the simplex or the half duplex communication. Means one transfer can send the data and when it will receive, either it can transmit or the receive, or full duplex communication, transmit as well as the receive. Based on that, we have the various UART ICs, that is called as the universal transmitter receiver ICs are there. And starting with the first serial communication IC is the MSSP, Master Synchronous Serial Port module. In that we have the SPI, Serial Peripheral Interface. This is the first module for the serial communication. Then we have the I2C, Integrated Circuit Bus, that is called the I2C communication. The two-wire communication, mostly it is used in the all the television boards, mobile phones. We have the small PCB, but we have the large number of IO devices to interface. We need the I2C communication. Okay. Then we have the USB, Universal Synchronous Transmitter model. In that we have only USB in communication. This is the whole our syllabus. Okay. This is the big one. 8 chapters are there in that. If we talk about its internal assessment, ICA, it has list of practices are mentioned here. ICA consists of minimum 10 practices we have to go with out of 15. This upon the curriculum, students should introduce embedded C programming as well as the assembly programming for this. Starting with the arithmetic and logical operations can be done with the help of this first practical. Then arithmetic switches, push buttons can be, LED can be interfaced, and you can see interfacing of matrix keyboard, interfacing of LCD, interfacing of DAC, ADC, then the different waveforms, as I said that square wave, triangular wave, rectangular can be generated. Then use the timers for time delay generation, use the timer for as a counter to count the external pulses, interface the stepper motor, speed control of DC stepper motor using the PWM. This is for all the practice for the 8051. And then we pick use ADC on that on chip ADC in the